So, welcome everybody to a new episode of Beauty in the Breakup. And I have a guest here with me today who's been, I guess it's been 2 years since your breakup, and things were going smoothly, and you were using the tools. And then we hit this little snag. So, I thought we would chat about what happens after the fact and when you start to go into that space of, oh my gosh, what have I done? You start
Yeah.
doubting, so all those fun memories come back. So, Barbara, if you don't mind, just fill us in.
Okay. So my name is Barbara Houlihan, and I've been in access consciousness, as a facilitator and certified facilitator and all that for a long time. So I use the tools of access a lot. And 2 years ago, my divorce became final in January 2 years ago, and it had been very peaceful. I used the tools, and, it was a very kind, we did it with kindness and integrity is what our whole target was. My husband never even had to get a lawyer. It was that smooth. We just, sat down and did a mediation and split everything for a 42-year marriage.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot,
We did
right?
the same thing. No lawyers, just mediator. And
Did not have to be a lot of this reality trauma drama and
mhm,
shitting on each other, basically, right? It was
yeah.
kind, but it was extremely difficult for him because he stayed where we had lived and I moved away. And if you've ever been in that situation, the person who stays there is completely entrenched in all of the memories, the emotion, the loss. It's just like they see it all the time. The person who leaves is able to displace themselves from that, right? And
Mhm,
focus on other things. For me, I focused on getting me better.
mhm,
There was a lot of things that had happened during those 42 years that it took me 42 years to actually get strong enough to like do the dash, right? And it was quick. I mean, he felt blindsided and um, but it was because he could never hear me. He wouldn't ever acknowledge or hear, his role in any of it. So, bottom line is that I've done really well. I've been really happy. And then I heard a couple of weeks ago that he had finally moved on, that he was dating someone, had been for quite a while, that they are with each other every single day. And I thought I was okay with that. That's what I've
yeah.
always wanted for him is to be happy and to live a full, joyful life. And it just kind of gave me a gut punch, you know,
Yeah.
and it was, prior to that, I'm very aware, and I'd been having these dreams of him with another woman, like
Mm,
very vivid, like they're very lifelike. And so when I heard that, it didn't surprise me, but at the same time, it was hard. And I had been having all of these emotions coming up with those dreams starting to happen in my life and just all of that doubt. It's like you start guessing, second guessing yourself, did I do the right thing? Because oh my God, 42 years of raising children together, grandchildren now in our lives. And we played together well. We hiked, we skied, we went scuba diving, we rode horses, we went camping, jeeping. I mean, we did it all. I mean,
yeah.
we played really well together after he retired. And anyway, so it was like all of those memories, but then it would be like, I would get this other stuff, I would start remembering, yeah, but then this happened and that happened. And there was always that other underlying yuck, that was attached to it. So I would be pulled into like, you should go back. You should go back and make this work because there were so many things that were right about that. And
Mhm,
then it would be that swing back to no, I know what it would be like. I would be punished the rest of my life for having put him through this.
mm,
And and then last week, wrote him a letter and just, to apologize for what I had put him through, the way that I had left him, that, it was quick, but it was the only way that I could get free. And what I want all of you that are listening to this is to get this. This is really important, is that it isn't that he's wrong and it isn't that I am wrong. It is the fabric of who he is and the fabric of who I am, generations passed down. So what does that mean? It means that we cannot even see what it is that we are doing or being, because this is what our parents did and their parents did, and back, right? And it's like all of those judgments, opinions, conclusions, points of view that we are raised in, that we are entrenched in, we don't even realize there's another possibility, right? It's just, this is how it's done. And you're wrong because you're not doing it the way I'm doing it. That's how our marriage was. My marriage, so he was a very controlling, always right, kind of guy, and made sure that I knew how stupid I was, and that I wasn't getting it, that I was always making these mistakes, had to be micromanaged. It was like very demeaning. But the
Mm.
reason I stayed there for 42 years is that being raised from a small child with a father who had been in a somewhat abusive, demeaning relationship with his father, he raised all of my siblings and I with a firm hand. Like if we ever stepped out of line or didn't please him, we were beaten, literally.
So
And
you were used to that kind of relationship.
right, so I had that submissive piece to me. Like
Mm.
I always was submissive to the men, I had so many forms of abuse through my life that made me so submissive, whether
Mm.
it was physical, sexual, or verbal abuse. I
Mhm.
had my place and I could not rise above it. And meanwhile, he doesn't see that he did anything, that he had any role in it. I'm the one who's messed up, right? Not him.
Mm.
And even when I wrote these letters to apologize for the way I left, and the sadness and the turmoil that then ensued in his life, from thoughts of suicide to trying to figure his life out to feeling estranged from the rest of the family. I mean, it was all of that. And anyway, he never once took any ownership of it.
Mm.
Not any. Like, even after I wrote this letter and it took him a week to reply, all he did was point out to how he had had all of those things going on in his life, and that he hoped I was at peace with the decision I'd made. And yes, he was in a new relationship,
Mm.
but no
Wow.
ownership, none, but
Well,
it took
then
me.
doesn't that just make you go, okay, I made
Well,
the right choice for myself.
here's the thing, is that I couldn't even see it then, Julie. After I got that quick little letter from him, I still didn't get it because I was still feeling all this angst. And then this morning I woke up and I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. He has never said sorry for anything.
Mm.
He has never acknowledged a single thing that maybe he could have done differently.
Mm.
It has all been on me. And I'm like, wow, isn't that interesting? And it gave me a freedom to finally acknowledge that, yeah, even if I went back, even if I tried to give it another whirl, it's not going to be any different. It's not ever going to change until he can see and choose something.
Mm.
And I want to point out the way that I was able to get to the point of changing that relationship was using the tools of access consciousness. I used them, I took tons of classes, and I found that little thread, that little thread that I could start unraveling of that tapestry of the fabric of who I was. And
Mm,
the more I undid that, the more I was able to create this transparency where I could peek at who I actually was. I
mhm,
wasn't that pathetic, submissive,
mhm.
whatever, right? I really had value. I am as magical as anybody I know. I am
And
like
who wouldn't want
amazing.
that in their lives with them? That's the
Right.
interesting thing, like, as people, as we grow and learn and start to expand and be more of the uniqueness that we are, wouldn't it be nice if our partners and our family embrace that and we're like, "Wow, awesome, good for you," and, you
Yeah.
know, and have it add instead of have it challenge them or make them feel like they're not being or doing enough or so I don't even know exactly what happens, but instead of having everything fall apart, it could be all falling together or growing
Yeah.
together.
Exactly. If there wasn't that polarity, that need to be right and the other person to be wrong, if people could be in that space of just true allowance, where you have no point of view about it. And and that's where I have tried so desperately to stay in. You get pulled in and out of that all the time. However, in general, I feel like I am hold so much space for other people and especially for him. I get that his fabric is so thick and he doesn't even want to change that. This is just where his comfort space is, and that's fine. He when I left him, he was like, "Look, I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this." And I'm like, "No, because you would be doing that for me. You need to do these things because this is what you choose for your life, choose to be different." And I just had allowance for him not to come with me, for him just to be him and allow me to completely turn my world upside down and choose more of me and be that greater gift in the world. We
Yeah.
had a great little life going on. All of the beautiful home, all kinds of fun things going on in our life. And, anybody looking in thought, gosh, she is so lucky. But here's the thing, it was like I felt like I was nesting to die because this was my reality, just this.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what I know is that I am destined for something so much bigger. When I think about my life, I want to do something that changes the world. I don't think about my neighborhood. I think about what gift can I be? What have I come here to contribute to the world? What
Yeah.
can I change? What can I bring? How can I, help people find a new reality that is so different than what it is that they have bought as their only choice? That what they have bought is the what's true, viable, valuable, and real for them that is not. Like we've all been raised in a fishbowl. It's time to climb out of that fishbowl and look in instead of being there in that little tiny space in the universe.
So true. And that's exactly what I'm creating this podcast for and having you as a guest on it is like there's so much more possible. And even if you don't know what it is, to hold yourself back, to stay within the bounds of what we've grown up believing is right and feel totally unfulfilled and stagnant is a waste of you being here. And it's like grow those wings and spread them and see what's possible. And it doesn't mean that your relationships have to end. It's the 2 of you creating together. And if it doesn't work any longer, that's not wrong. You had a good run, 42 years, did you say?
Yes.
Like, that's a great run. And now what's possible?
And here's something else. You know, I don't see that we have to be in separate camps. Like, why can't, I mean, both of us have said, I love you. I will always love you. And I'm saying, I just can't live with you. But I
Right.
want you in my life. We have children, we have grandchildren. Why can't we all just enjoy and love each other, well, however that looks, just because we can? I get so pissed at the fact that you get a divorce and people immediately think we have to be in these camps. Like,
Mhm.
no, that is just such bullshit. No, you can all be friends. You can all treat each other with kindness and respect. And you can, just because you can't live, I mean, think about how many people you cannot live with. Does that mean you can no longer be their friend? And I know people. One of our good friends, when we were married, she and her second husband were best friends with her first husband and his wife. They traveled the world together. They did all of the family functions together. They gave each other gifts at Christmas. I mean, they celebrated every event in their children's and their grandchildren's lives together. And they loved each other. They just didn't have to be married to each other and really enjoyed each other's spouses. It happens.
Mhm.
It is possible. I am not insane for asking for that as my reality. And I'm not going to give up on that because I want my grandchildren to know their papa. That's
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what would it take for the world to be more inclusive instead of
right.
exclusive? I know
Exactly.
that, when a marriage is breaking up and you start to share that information, I feel like it creates this uncertainty in a lot of other people's lives who have relationships that are on rocky ground to begin with as well.
Mhm.
And I wonder if that's the beginning of the separate camp thing. And, you just because somebody else is doing it doesn't mean that you have to. And if you're also aware, if it brings up something for you that your relationship isn't working, you could ask some questions and change the relationship. It doesn't mean you have to break up, but you have to get to what's true for you for it to work for you.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And you have to like be willing to be that undefined. Like you were saying, you start to create your life and you don't know where it's going. Well, if you knew where it was going, you would just be creating the same old thing with a slightly different look because it would be based on what it is that you have concluded this reality has to function from. When you are willing to just flow with whatever shows up and follow the energy of that, what is it that's lighting your body up that excites you, where you're just going, oh my God, that is what I've been looking for. It doesn't look anything like I thought it was going to look like, but oh my God, it's giving me that purpose to like keep growing and learning and expanding. And at the same time, it's following that target that I have to change the world, to make the world a better place. You know, it's that willingness just to be curious, to like, okay, tell me more. And then to feel in your being, how does that feel? Even though you have no idea how that looks like, I could have functioned from the conclusion that I suck at business and this will never happen. Instead, I was willing to go, okay, this is really uncomfortable, but I so believe in this product that I want the world to know about it. And I don't care if other people hop on my bus or whatever, but I want them to know that this exists in the world because they might know somebody else or they might themselves choose it, right? And what is it going to take for me to follow through on my vision, on my target in my life? Well, it's going to require me to get over all of my judgments and my points of view that I can't do this. And so clearing, using all the tools to clear all of those limitations, all of those points of views and judgments, and put all of that past horseshit away. Let go of that past and don't let it control you anymore. Just doesn't exist. Okay, so now what? What can I do? Let's just give it a whirl and see. And I have been so surprised at what I have been able to do, what it is I'm able to step into and create as a business that I never in a million years would have thought, just because the energy lit me up. So let's see what that brings, what that creates.
Amazing. Yeah. It's funny, this morning, before this, I was looking on Instagram and there was a little clip of a speech from Oprah, and she was talking about don't ask what the world needs. What actually the world needs is for each one of us to find what lights us up and to choose to be more of that.
Perfect. That's
So
exactly right. Yeah, yeah.
thank you for being that. Thank you for trusting yourself. And thank you all for trusting yourself to consider something that most people don't think is right, but deep down inside is what's going to create more space, more joy, more possibility for you. And we don't know what it's going to look like. It's going to be uncomfortable at times, and everything ends up being greater and greater and lighter. And what else is possible, truly?
Truly. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing, Barbara.
Thank you for inviting me. It's nice and it's cleansing for me also to say, yep, I am moving forward and I'm letting these things of past just go. I'm not making it significant anymore, letting the past just go and
Yeah,
creating my future.
yeah. And having gratitude for what you did create, you did the
Absolutely.
best you could, and you
Yep.
had an amazing run.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
how does it get
Yeah.
any better than that?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right.